be disciplined and get that stuff listed and out of the death pile. Yeah. It's going to be one of those Sundays. Welcome back, everybody. We had a good week this week. Sales were really decent. Not record-breaking, but they were good. Better than usual. It's been a busy week for old Paul. I've been doing a lot of housekeeping, house cleaning. I've been extremely motivated this week, which is something I want to talk about because I think it's hugely important to the reselling game. So we'll get into that. Got a lot of stuff accomplished around here this week. I did not go sourcing this week. Did not pick up any new inventory, which has resulted in the death pile massively shrinking, which it's a double-edged sword. It feels good to actually start getting caught up and not having the big backlog of stuff. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the episode. Let's go ahead and jump into the weekly numbers. All right, this week we had a return of investment of 527%. We had a net profit margin of 47%. Our gross income was $505. Our net income was $247 this week. Did not get skunked one day. The beginning of the week was a great start to the week. Every day, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, which is Tuesday's an anomaly for me to have a really good sales day like that. We dipped down on Wednesday, came back a little bit on Thursday. Friday's been a lull. Last week I got skunked on Friday. This week it was very small sales on Friday. And then Saturday, we had a couple sales. I think we had 3 sales yesterday, all low ticket items. But that is the good news. Like, I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff that's been hanging around a long time this week. And I've got it severely discounted because I just want to get rid of it, make the space. And, you know, it's those items that are learning curves as a reseller. Like when I was new and I was picking up stuff that didn't move that quickly. But you know, this is an evolution. This is a process. We learn as we go. And I'm glad to see it go to get a little bit of profit, not much, but get it out of the way, get that money flowing back into me to where I can go out and I can buy better products and better things in my store. All right, top 10 return on investments by source. We'll only talk about the top 4. We have 2 St. Vinny's taking the number 1 spots. Garage sale still hanging in there in the top. And then, of course, eBay. The sunglasses portion of it are building. I ran the numbers on it already, and I've already made 1/5 of my investment on the sunglasses. I've made 1/5 of the investment back already, and I'm still sitting on almost 300 pairs of sunglasses. So I'm really happy about the sunglasses. I don't think there's any sunglasses in the top 10 because they are so low dollar, but the net profit margin on the sunglasses are fantastic. And I really am happy that I'm like putting a lot of my focus onto that side of the business because that's going to be a consistent profit margin that's always over 50%. And that's something I could build as a key pillar of my business on. And I'm really excited that that's actually doing really well. So that's awesome. Moving on, listings by source this week. eBay with sunglasses is the big boy at 28 for the week. A very distant second. A lot of those donated items I got from 2 Sundays ago getting posted, and I think a few of them sold this week too. I think there might be 1 or 2 in the top 10 of donated items. And then switching over to our listings by price this week. 57 of the ones I listed are in that below 20 range. 20 of the ones I listed are above 20. And I think I had 1 item between the $50 and $100. Listing. Motivation. We're going to talk about it later on. I started Sunday where I only did 8 listings. Monday 11, and then I 12'd out the rest of the week. And I'm starting to think 12 is kind of where I want to go to on a day-to-day basis. Right now, my goal where I'm happy with myself is as long as I hit 8. And if I don't hit 8, I would feel terrible. I don't think I missed one day where I've gotten less than 8 since I've made that my goal. but I'm seriously considering 12 is where I like. That's where I like to sit. It makes me feel like I've accomplished a lot of the day. I still have a lot of other time throughout the day to knock out other tasks that I have to. I'm getting way more efficient at listing. Average time for an item to sell in my store this week was 2 months. The total money I spent on inventory this week was $172. All right, let's jump into the top 10. Number 10 sale of the week was this Mr. Coffee 4-cup coffee maker. Now, this again was an item that has been sitting around for a long time. Picked this up back in May at a St. Vincent de Paul's for $4.02. It sold on eBay for $29.53, which was $15.98, and $13.55 for the shipping. It had a fixed final value fee of 40 cents, a final value fee of $3.93. This did sell on an ad, so I owed eBay 64 cents. Cost to ship this item was $8.98, which was good enough for an $11.56 net return, which is a 288% return on investment and a 39% net profit margin. This is this was an item I've been sitting on for a while. At the beginning of at the beginning of August, as I told you guys, I went through and I discounted a lot of items. This was on the list. So I did that on August 1st. After discounting it, it took it 18 days to sell after sitting for 2 going on 3 months. Number 9 sale of the week of these high-bass pink wireless Bluetooth headsets. This is the G7 model. This was part of that donated lot that I told you guys about. I got these for 100% free from a friend from a lady who just wanted me to take the stuff off her hands and help grow my business. So these sold on eBay for $20.33. That's $14.98 for the headsets and $15.35 for the shipping. Now, once I got these home and I did my research on them, I could only find comps on the black version of this. Same exact thing, no difference, just where it's pink in this, it's black in the ones I could find the sold comp for. I felt like I had the only pair of pink ones online anywhere that I could find, but the sell-through rate was really good. I want to say it had a 70% sell-through rate when I did the research, and it was all the black ones, and I noticed every single one that sold all sold for $15. There was a couple that were listed for $20, but every one that sold for $15. So I decided to put these up for $14.98, and I thought maybe I should price them higher. Maybe I should even go over $20 because they're pink. I didn't do it, but it took these 14 days to sell. They had a fixed final value fee of 40 cents, a final value fee of $2.69. These did sell on an ad, so I owed eBay 44 cents. Cost to ship this item was $4.02, which was good enough for a $12.78 net return, which is an infinite return on investment because they were donated, and a net profit margin of 63%. Number 8 sale of the week should look familiar. It's this Las Vegas Raiders 47 brand black trucker hat. This was the hat that I famously did the packing for on the last episode. It sold on eBay for $25.58, which was $19.53 for the hat and $6.05 for the shipping. I did pick this up at a St. Vincent's for $3 locally. It had a fixed final value fee of 40 cents, a final value fee of $3.41. This also did sell on an ad, so I owed eBay 55 cents. Cost to ship this item was $4.55, which was good enough for a net return of $13.67, which is a 456% return on investment, which is a 53% net profit margin. This was a really good hat, really good find. And this was one of those I didn't plan on going sourcing that day. I just happened to be by my local thrift store, so I popped in there and they just had a fresh batch of hats out, and I saw this one tagged for $3, and that was the only thing I bought that day at the thrift store. So picked that up, and took 2 months to sell, but it sold for a good profit, and very happy with it. Next up is this Wallmaker USA Frontier Clothing red floral shirt. This is actually the second time I've sold this shirt. It didn't get returned. The actual order got canceled before I even shipped it. This one, the first time I sold it, I think was about a month ago. And as soon as the purchase happened, I was coming out to do the shipping, and the person messaged me like, "Hey, I bought the shirt by mistake. Can you please cancel the order?" And I was like, "Yeah, no worries." But it did sell this week. I picked this up for $3.09 at a Salvation Army. This sold on eBay for $28 even, which was $21.20 for the shirt, and $6.80 for the shipping. It had a fixed final value fee of 40 cents, a final value fee of $3.74. Cost to ship this item was $5.32, which was good enough for a $15.45 net return, which is a 500% return on investment and a net profit margin of 55%. This shirt has gotten so many views since I listed it. After I initially sold it the first time, I was like, and it got canceled, I was like, okay, it's gonna sell pretty quickly. And it just kept racking up views and watchers, but nobody even sent me an offer on this shirt. It was really, really weird. And I kept sending offers out on it, nobody bit, but it was constantly getting views. This is like one of those old Western shirts. Like, if you ever seen the movie Tombstone, like, it's the undershirt for that, like the authentic Western version of the shirt. Finally, I had somebody come in and give me the offer of, I had it listed at $29, and somebody came in and offered me $21.20, and I was like, yeah, let's get rid of it. Number 6 sale of the week was these vintage Sony speakers for the CFD 460 stereo system. It's the speakers only. I picked these up for $4.01 from a St. Vincent de Paul's. They sold on eBay this week for $31.25. That was $16 for the speakers and $15.25 for the shipping. Fixed final value fee was 40 cents. The final value fee was $2.97. Cost to ship this item was $8.26, which was good enough for a net return of $15.61, which is a 389% return on investment and a 50% net profit margin. So I woke up on Monday, and shortly after getting out here in the garage and getting my listings going for the day, I get a message about these speakers. And a gentleman reached out and he asked for the dimensions, and I gave him the information for the dimensions. And then these are part of a stereo system, like they connect to the original stereo system, but I don't have the original stereo, I just have the speakers. And he asked me, are the tracks on the inside? He said, I don't have the stereo system that goes for it, but he said, I have the newer version of the stereo that these go for, and I need the speakers. He's like, are the tracks on the inside 4 inches? So I pulled out the old tape measure. I walked up and I learned I have no clue how the tracks are measured on speakers, whether it's dead center of the track line, like left side of the track line, out to out, in to in. So I literally just took every measurement of the track line as possible, like from the dead center of each line, from the left side of the line, right side of the line, from the inner part of the line, from the outer part of the line. And I sent him all the pictures and messages. I'm like, not sure how to measure it, but here are all the measurements for inside, outside, blah, blah. And he goes, well, that's good enough to say sold. And I was very happy that he purchased those after asking the questions, because like I said, the questions don't bother me, but it's just really nice that when you provide that kind of customer service, people follow through. And when we got done and he paid, he responded back to the message, and he goes, and he said to me in message, he goes, it's really easy for me as a customer to hit 5 stars for communication and customer service, but he goes, were it possible to give you 10 stars, I would. He's like, thank you so much for being a really good reseller. And I'm not saying this story to brag on me. I'm saying this story to have good customer service is the ultimate message. That's what I want. I've seen a couple eBay resellers talk about not answering customer questions and stuff like that. And I mean, to each their own. I'm not ever going to tell anybody how to run their business. My recommendation to everybody, though, is provide the best possible customer service you can. There is a point where I will terminate conversations. Like, if you are asking me all kinds of information that's in the listing and you're just not reading the listing, that does bug me. But I will let 1 or 2 things pass that are in the listing. But I truly believe, if the objective is to get the sale, be as helpful as possible. If there's red flags that the questions are leading to an extremely picky buyer, like, I'll let the conversation continue on before there's obviously no resolution on whether they're going to buy it or not. I'll just say, okay. But I want to make sure you guys know answer as many questions as you can and feel comfortable with for a customer. Don't just bluff them off. Number 5 sale of the week is this vintage Pumas men's Detroit Tigers blue pullover windbreaker jacket. This was donated to me by my mother, technically my cousin, but my cousin gave it to my mom. My mom gave it to me to resell. So I paid $0 for this. A beautiful, brand new, like, windbreaker. I don't think my cousin ever wore it. One thing is, when I got it home and I started going through it just to make sure and looking it over, the left pocket had a lot of shred tear damage in it. Like, not dirty, it's weird. I don't know how it got shredded the way it did. And I talked to my cousin this week, and she's like, yeah, I never ever had any tear damage in there. She's like, I think I only wore that once. So this sold this week on eBay for $25.80. That was $15 for the jacket, $10.80 for the shipping. The fixed final value fee was 40 cents. The final value fee was $3.30. Cost to ship this item was $6.10, which was good enough for a $16 even net return, which is an infinite return on investment and net profit margin of 62%. So, mom and cousin, if you're watching this episode, thank you guys for this sale. Number 4 sale of the week is this Coleman air conditioner run capacitor. I believe I told this story in the past. I had my air conditioning go out 2 summers ago in my RV, and I bought all the parts to fix it. I bought double the parts to fix it. Once I got through and changed everything out, the air conditioner was still kaput, meaning it had a leak, which was beyond my capability of fixing. So I had a lot of spare parts for the air conditioning unit lying around my place, and once I started the eBay store, I went ahead and listed them. I sold one run capacitor, I want to say a month or 2 ago. So this was the last run capacitor I had. This sold on eBay for $24.86, which was $16.01 for the capacitor, and $8.85 the shipping. It had a fixed final value fee of 40 cents. It had a final value fee of $2.97. Cost to ship this item was $5.45, which was good enough for a $16.04 net return, which is an infinite return on investment and a 65% net profit margin. Number 3 sale of the week is the Super Mario All-Stars for Super Nintendo. Once again, this was an item from home, so it sold on eBay for $25.38, which is $19.98 for the game, $5.40 for the shipping. It had a fixed final value fee of 40 cents, a final value fee of $3.39. This did sell on an ad, so I owed eBay 55 cents. Cost to ship this item was $4.11, which was good enough for a $16.93 net return, which is a return of an infinite return on investment and a net profit margin of 67%. So I have all my video game collection from the past listed now. I sold a couple games this week. This was the only one to breach it into the top 10. One thing I found superiorly interesting, because I used to collect all the old retro system games, is how quickly Super Nintendo games sell. If my guess would have been, it would have been either Nintendo or Sega games that were going to sell the quickest, and I was completely wrong. It ended up being Super Nintendo. With that said, it's not on the top 10 list, but I finally sold my first regular Nintendo game of the collection yesterday. I'm still sitting on a lot of regular Nintendo games, so I just thought that was a really interesting observation, and I'm getting down to where I barely have any Super Nintendo games left. So if you got a Super Nintendo system and you're looking for games for it, act now, because my inventory is almost gone. And the number 2 sale of the week is this New with Tags Champion Athletic Shoes, size 10, green, yellow sneakers. These sneakers were a great find. I went to a garage sale that was not advertised. It was in the middle of nowhere. And a couple months ago, it was about 2 months ago, I was driving into town and I decided for some reason, I said, I'm going to take the back roads in. Because I live 30 miles out in the middle of the country, like in the woods. So I have multiple ways I can get to town. We have the interstate and all that. And I decided to take the back roads. And this was tucked in the back roads. Little home rummage sale. I asked the guy how long he'd been open. He said an hour and a half, and I was the first customer. I'm like, man, you have no advertising for this. Like, you should probably put something up on Facebook or at least a road sign. But anyway, he had great prices, and he had these Champion shoes in the box from 10 years ago, and he gave me the whole story. Very nice gentleman. And we ended up doing a lot of deal And I believe I got 10 items for $20, if I remember correctly, was how that garage sale worked out, including the shoes. So the purchase price on these shoes was $2. The box was absolutely in terrible condition, but the shoes were brand new. So they sold on eBay for $34.60, which was $21 for the shoes, $13.60 for the shipping, had a fixed final value fee of 40 cents, a final value fee of $4.50. The cost to ship this item was $9.02. Also, this is the first pair of real shoes I've sold. So learning how to ship shoes was interesting, which is good enough for a net return of $18.68, which is a 934% return on investment, which is a 54% net profit margin. And the number one sale of the week is this vintage Wrangler's large, tall brush popper pearl snap striped Western shirt cowboy rodeo. Keywords, people. I picked this up at Denim Heart back in May for $3.87. I purchased when I went into that thrift store that day. They had two 90s era Wrangler pearl snap brush poppers. It was this one, which was in flawless condition for its age. It had some tag damage, like a little bit of tag damage, but the shirt itself was kept impeccable. And then the other one was a faded black striped one. Like, you could tell it was used for the brush popper purpose. For those who don't know about Wrangler brush poppers, they're fantastic items to sell. That one was actually heavily used, heavily worked in, but it was kept clean. It was kept in good condition, but you could tell it had some city miles on it. And I listed them both at the same time, and I was for sure that this shirt was going to sell first. As soon as I listed both of these, the other shirt sold in 10 minutes for full asking price, which was $45. I listed them both for $45 back in May. And it sold right away. And I was like, whew, well, this other shirt's going to sell in no time too. And it has always had hundreds of views. It had dozens upon dozens of watchers its whole existence, but nobody ever bought it. I, throughout the last 3 months, have gotten several absolute lowball offers. I had one guy offer me $8 for it. I had one guy offer me $10 for it. And I politely, I went back and forth, and they just kept it super low. Finally, this was one of the things I discounted at the beginning of July to bring it down in price a little bit, and I did a percentage off, brought it down to $29.99. And then somebody came in and offered me $26.75. Thought it was more than fair considering what I paid for it, and I wanted the profit so I could reinvest it and get a new product in, move this item off the shelf. So we went ahead and sold it. It sold for $35.35, which is $26.75 for the shirt, $8.60 for the shipping. It had a fixed final value fee of 40 cents, a final value fee of $4.72. Cost to ship this item was $6.09. These shirts are extremely heavy because they're made of a canvas material. And this had a net return of $20.27, a return on investment of 524%, and a net profit margin of 57%. The reason these are brush poppers is because they are a canvas cotton material that's thicker than the normal Wrangler shirts. They're designed like that for when cowboys are actually riding through the brush to prevent them from getting scraped and scarred up on their arms while they're on horseback. So, beautiful shirt. Anytime I see a Wrangler pearl snap, I always pick it up, even if it's not the brush popper material, the canvas material. Still pick them up. Wrangler pearl snaps do really well for me. But knowing the difference between the brush poppers and the regulars, there's a huge divide in the money. A regular pearl snap Wrangler is only going to net you 15 to 20, and then brush poppers, I've sold one for 45. I sold this one for $26.75. I've seen other brush poppers go for as high as $90, depending on the colors and the graphics on the shirt. And I think, looking back on it now, I think it was color and pattern is why this one sat around so long. It was brown, and it had white and orange stripes, vertical stripes. So I think that's why it didn't sell so much. Just shows you fashion is a huge thing, and I know nothing about it, but boy, am I trying. I'm giving it the old college try. So those are our top 10 sales of the week. And this has been a good week. I mean, a couple more sales than normal week. I had my finals for college this week. Those are done and out of the way. When you my college, when you go as a veteran under the GI Bill, they assign you a academic advisor for your whole time while you're in college, and they call, check in with you, work with you. It's a really great program. And she called me this week, and she goes, "I'm just going through your record." She called me to check in this semester, and she's like, "Do you realize that you could basically not turn your finals in and you'd still pass the class?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm aware. I have a calculator and I already ran the numbers and I know I'm good to pass." But I was like, "Don't worry, my finals are already turned in." She laughed. Haven't got grades back on the finals, but next week I think there's no work assigned in either of my classes for this coming up week. It's just kind of, hey, show up for the lecture, do the required reading, and participate in discussion with peers. So and this is my last week of this semester. Then I got a week off. I say that because sourcing is going to be a big part. I think I might actually go out multiple days sourcing this week. I'm going to hit up a lot of different cities. We're going to spend a lot of money on gas coming up over the next 2 weeks, but we should be doing a lot of sourcing, and I should be getting a lot of footage. I'm going to try some new things out on the sourcing videos. And I haven't forgot about my idea, the other video I wanted to do. Like I told you guys, though, that what I think is going to be really entertaining, and it's going to be a fun watch for everybody. I have no control over on how long the video is going to take. It's literally waiting for sales on eBay, certain sales. I don't want to give too much away, so I'll leave it at that. But this week I really wanted to talk about motivation. And a week or two ago, Justin Resells is doing his phenomenal second series. By the way, if you guys don't watch Justin Resells, another cheap plug for him. He's the designer of Flipwise, the app I use for this show. And if you don't watch his show, go check his show out. It's absolutely fantastic. But he's doing his Monday weekly sales show like this. I don't want to say I stole this from him, but it's very, very similar. But he's been doing on Wednesdays the brutal, honest reselling advice questions, where he's going through and asking questions. And I think those episodes are phenomenal. I love them so much. But he was talking about, you got a question of how do you find the motivation to do listings? And he said, if you rely on motivation for listings, you're never going to get them done. You need to create discipline in your life. And I fully support and endorse that message, where I said I was motivated this week, but I was extremely disciplined this week. I went into this week knowing I wanted to get supremely organized. I was tired of the death pile controlling my conscience. And I wasn't getting anxiety or anything about it, but man, the death pile just seems like it never stops growing. So I made the decision of I just got to stop sourcing for a little bit. Clothes, I'll always buy shirts and clothes wherever I can, and I don't mind those piling up. But hard goods, I have a lot of hard goods, and it's and I'm sure those of you who resell are going to know what I'm talking about. You buy things because, it has a sell-through rate, but it's not something you're necessarily passionate about. So by the time it gets home and goes in your death pile, you're like, I don't want to list this today because I don't personally have a passion for this item. It's not in a category I like to sell in. It's not a category I'm fond of, whatever the excuse is. And it just sits there, and other things stack up on top of it. And then soon it gets lost in the shuffle and it gets lost in the mix. I consciously went into this week saying, enough of that, Paul. Be disciplined and get that stuff listed and out of the death pile. I'm the type of guy who I have to do something different, like physically different, whenever I have that mentality. So my death pile was literally a cheap plastic folding table, and stuff was just piling up on top of it. I had a crate underneath holding it, and it was piling up on top of the crate. So I went out and I bought one of those big plastic garage organizer rack. I have the metal rack for my regular listed inventory, and then I bought a big giant plastic rack that you can get from your regular big box store. and I decided that's going to be my death pile rack. So I assembled that this week, and I started going through my death pile, picking away. And I mean, I got the table cleared out, but then, I've got stuff in the trunk of the car, you got stuff off to the side, and I'm going through. And what I'm going to do is, once I clear out the rest of this inventory, which, Papa bless, we are down to not that much on the death pile. We did a lot of hard goods listing this week, so that was awesome. But what I'm going to do is, whenever I go sourcing, I'm going to come back, and there's going to be a rack for that hard goods sourcing day, and I'm literally going to put painter's tape with Sharpie marker on the rack, the date the items were purchased, and the cost of goods for the day on that. Because that's another thing, when you have stuff sitting on your death pile, unless you're keeping very, very accurate records of everything you buy, I have to go digging through the receipts to find out what day I purchased that item, what the cost of goods. And what I do is I have one of these filing cabinets I picked up at a rummage sale when I first started, where I keep all my receipts and I keep all my records. And that's here by my desk. And every single time I do a sourcing trip, I come home, sit down, I go through all the receipts, and what I do is I put them in an envelope, and I mark the envelope with the date and cost of goods. So a lot of times this week, I would look at items and I go, I don't even remember buying this. I don't even know where I bought this. And having to go through receipts and go through the memory bank. I figured this way with the rack system, with painter's tape and the Sharpie, it's going to make that process a lot easier, so the bookkeeping's a lot easier. And that's another thing. Don't let yourself fall behind on your bookkeeping. Knock on wood, that's something I'm really diligently good about. But I know that the only reason I'm good about it is because I don't want to get behind on it. And then the next thing you know, it's tax season and I'm digging through everything, trying to get all my numbers together. I like being organized with my numbers and have everything ready to go. And you have to create the discipline. And being disciplined with things is what keeps you ahead of the game. And also a thing that's about me, I'm human just like everybody else, and mistakes are going to be made along the way. And I think one of the biggest, and I don't even think it's a secret of reselling, is when you make a mistake, learn from it. Use that experience to build on your business. And I'm the type of person who I like physical reminders of my mistakes in my presence to remind me not to make those mistakes. And I want to give you guys an example. As I sit here at my desk, I have 3 things that hang on my desk area to keep me honest and to remind me. And those items are the first return that was my fault, which is, as you guys know, the Faberware coffee pot, the electric percolator that when you plug it in, it ran, but it didn't function completely. And I tested it to make sure it was operational. It didn't work. As you can see, I stripped it of everything, parted it off, and I kept this, and this sits on a mantle right behind my desk that I can constantly look at. So whenever I have to test electronics, I test them here at this desk. This desk is the first spot every item gets listed. This is where it happens. So looking at this always reminds me, did you thoroughly test that electronic item? Did you make sure it's good to go? So that's one of the reminders I keep. Then I keep the classic Royal flat curling iron hanging at my desk, which was my first Vero takedown, which keeps me a reminder that when I'm doing the research on a product, to make sure I'm diligently looking at the product and I'm not messing it up. And then I keep my first ever supremely bad purchase. I still have it tagged for the inventory system, but it's no longer for sale. My first day ever going out and sourcing items for my eBay store. The first week, I believe it was the second day I had an eBay store, I went out and I found this 1960 Sprite bottle for $6, and I was for sure that this Sprite bottle was going to be worth a mint. And I didn't even look it up. I didn't run comp solds. I gladly paid $6 for a Sprite bottle and brought it home. And after bringing it home and going to list it, I realized I could list this for 50 cents and it's going to sit for 6 years before somebody passes it up. So I delisted this about a month and a half ago, and I have this hanging up on my wall of failures to remind me always, look up sell-through rates. Whenever you think something is worth money because you think it's cool, doesn't necessarily mean it's worth money. So those are just some things I do to keep myself honest in this business and try to be better and better myself. But back to the point of motivation, I would strongly recommend, if you want to do this, if you're not already in it. And if you are already in it, I'm sure you have come across a time where you don't want to list. You have just got to bear down and stop relying on motivation and start relying on discipline in your life to get items listed. Because any item that's not listed has no chance of making you profit. If you at least list an item and it doesn't sell, you at least did everything you could to set yourself up for success. And I bring this back to that Tech and Sports live stream that he did a couple weeks ago, where you're flaunting your reseller wealth if you've got items in your death pile that aren't listed. You're saying, I'm living so comfortably that I don't have to list items to sell them for a profit, even if that profit is little. And that's something else I've learned since the beginning of this month, is there are times where I've got to realize I'm not going to get the 50% profit margin that I seek on an item, because when I was a young, dumb reseller, I picked up items that didn't have good sell-through rates, that are destined to sit in my inventory rack for the next year. And that's my mistake. I eat it, I own it, and I will sit. But I'm learning reducing the price of stuff and getting it out of that below 40 net profit margin that I like, to get rid of it and get a little bit of money back in and keep the cash flow rolling to get new items that have better sell-through rates in the store is the better way to go. And I can't wait for the day that all my stupid purchases I made in my first couple weeks of reselling are gone. And when that day comes, I'll be extremely happy and we'll be firing in all cylinders. One thing is, I am running out of rack space on my inventory system with all the clothes. And now sunglasses being, that's the thing I love about sunglasses, is how little space they take up. So I'm going to start narrowing down some of the categories I do. I'm still going to be an everything seller, but vintage electronics, that takes up a lot of space. That's one of the downsides there. Clothes take up a lot of space, but clothes sell year round. There's always going to be a market for clothes, and that's literally just a matter of time before everything goes. Hats, hats take up very little room, but the sunglasses are really nice because I'm building little dividers to fit on my rack, my inventory racks, and I individually tag every single pair of sunglasses. So if you ever purchase sunglasses from me, the sunglasses you see in the listing are the sunglasses you're going to get. I mean, I obviously have a lot of the same sunglasses and I could use the same pictures over and over, but I don't want to do that. I take pictures of every single pair of individual sunglasses for their listing. I take pictures of everything for their individual listings. I think using the same pictures for similar products is not a good practice. I did that when I started, when I picked up like automotive parts that I bought multiple of, cosmetic products that I bought multiple of. I did the quantity listings. I don't think I would ever do the quantity listings again. The only upside to those are it counts as one listing against your eBay listing count. But the downside is it's only one listing that's out in the world to be seen of yours, and everything I've done a quantity listing on gets 0 views, and they're all promoted at 2%. But then again, they're also in categories that I don't have a huge presence in. I think my categories, eBay's learning, vintage electronic, hats, sunglasses, and clothes, because that's the majority of where my sales come from. So I think the algorithm has said, these are the categories where we're going to promote you more and boost you more. I don't know if that's how it works or not. I have no clue how the algorithm works. I'm running a lot of tests and side stuff. I feel like I'm learning stuff about it, but just like everybody else, I'm guessing at it. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job at guessing what the algorithm is, but I don't have all the answers. Yeah. I plan on doing a lot of sourcing this week, so hopefully we'll get some sourcing content out. Hopefully one of the items for my new idea sells soon, so we can continue on with the filming of that project. I love how eBay reselling, YouTube, and college take up my time, because the old saying of idle hands are the devil's playground, like I always have something to do. And you guys, like, again, thank you guys so much for watching this project. It amazes me how many of you not only watch me, but consistently watch me. And I'm very, I think, honored because I study everything. Whenever I get into something, I study on how to do it. Like eBay reseller, I'm constantly watching other creators. I'm constantly reading about eBay reselling, and I feel that's a huge plus. Commonwealth Picker just did a video yesterday where he said, you know, watch everybody. And, you know, don't just watch one person. Find the personality types and the people who have your goals. And he said it better than I could. If you want to be a multimillionaire reselling, I don't think I'm the guy for you to watch, because that's not what my goals are. I don't have a desire to be a multimillionaire. I have a desire to make $64 a week reselling just to cover gas and food, because that's all I really need to make to cover my lifestyle, is $64 a month. But what I hope you get here is I hope you get honest sales data, and I hope you get a peek into things that actually sell on eBay and give you some ideas for your business on how to run it, how to organize it. I'm not perfect, but I like watching everybody. I like watching the people who want to be millionaires. I like watching the people who just want to have a small little family and sell their products to have their family grow. And I like watching the people who are just one-man shows, you know, just trying to make a living and squeak one out in this economy and work their tails off to do it. But also, with that said, now that eBay is a revenue stream, and it is, I'm not ever going to lie to you guys about that. This wasn't a money thing. This wasn't why it started, but because of you guys, it has now become a revenue stream, which I take very seriously, and I value everybody who watches this. And I'm very fortunate that a lot of you not only watch, but you are also subscribed, and you guys stick around and come every week to watch. That means so much to me, and I can't thank you guys enough. I'll thank you every single episode for watching me. If you're new here and you did enjoy the content, I'd appreciate if you subscribe. And if you liked it, like the video. If you didn't like it, hit the thumbs down. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. I think I engage with honest criticism very well. But no, yeah, I love you guys. I think this is great. And it keeps me honest. That's another thing I love about doing the weekly sales videos, is what its intended goal was. Intended goal was to be a journey for me that I can look back on and I can say, hey, this camera is keeping me accountable to myself, trying to do the things I want to do in business. So yeah, that's all I got for this week, guys. Thank you so much again for watching. I hope all of you had a fantastic week. I hope you guys have a fantastic week to come, and we will for sure see you guys next Sunday. Maybe if I can get my stuff together sourcing this week, we'll get a video out this week. But other than that, see you guys next week.